I am the host, Jared Pittman. That is me. I'm so excited to be here. This has been in the works for so long, man. And we finally here. It's episode 1 of HomeFLD The Podcast. Welcome, everybody. Like I said, I am Jared Pittman, man. We're going to go ahead and get started. So, what is HomeFLD? Okay? So, for me, I wanted to have something that I can leave for my legacy, right? For my kids. I have kids, right? I decided to go ahead and start and establish an LLC, and I named it HomeFLD. And I got so much that I want to do with it, but this is step one, creating this podcast. And how did I come about, want to do a podcast? Well, I give a lot of credit to my good brother, BJ Smith, and my brother Marcus Smith. BJ came to me during quarantine, during the pandemic, during quarantine, and said that he wanted to do something. He wanted to have a platform, and he wanted to give people an opportunity to come on that platform, and share what they have and talk about what it's like being black and being from the inner city and how that affects us, in other spaces, outside of the inner city and whatnot. How we revert back to things that we learned in the inner city, being inner city children, right, and then bringing those lessons and whatnot into how we move in other spaces, right? And we call it hood philosophy, and we're doing great, man. We're doing phenomenal. Putting out content, bringing on guests and things like that, man. So huge shout out to hood philosophy, and being on that kind of established for me like a passion, right? Or something that I found therapeutic, being a black man and just being in this world in general. We moving so fast, right? I think that's something that the pandemic and quarantine did, was kind of made us slow down and sat us down, right? And we had to kind of reflect on who we were and what we wanted to be and what we wanted for ourselves, right? So finding something that you can involve yourself in that brings you peace, or helps you work through certain situations you're going through in your life, is always something that you should try to have and incorporate into your daily routine, or something that you can do that you can get your hands on every now and then, right? So that's what hood philosophy was for me, right? Having that opportunity to get on that camera, get on that platform, on camera, speaking real shit with my brother, because those are conversations we had, back in college, right? Undergrad, you feel me? Or just at the crib. Those are conversations that we had. We just decided to, record ourselves and put ourselves out there. So that established a passion for me in a place where I found therapy in this chaotic world. And being that I wanted to have something of my own, being HomeFLD, this is what I decided to incorporate into my passion first. Into my legacy first, podcasting and whatnot. So what is HomeFLD? HomeFLD for me is a mindset, right? I played college ball in Kalamazoo College. I was damn good, I ain't gonna lie. I say that. But playing sports my whole life, like, people talk about home field advantage, right? And the energy that you play with at home is different than the energy that you play with away. Sometimes some people play a little more relaxed at home, and sometimes some people play a little more relaxed away, right? Or however they play, but you always play a little bit differently at home than you do away, right? And it's like more of a, you're not gonna come into my house and take from me, right? Or I'm not going to refuse to be defeated at home. You know what I'm saying? And that mindset that you have playing them home games and things, I decided that I wanted that to be my mindset and the way I move for my entire life. That's what's going to lead me into my topic. It's mindset transformation, my mindset transformation, and then being a primary investor in myself. We'll get to that. But, so having that HomeFLD mindset, right, to me, it's 4 things in life that you can control, right? You can't control a whole lot, but 4 things in life that you can control. You can control any 4 things, whatever, but this is mine. Time, right? You can control time. Like my pops always told me, don't ever let nobody waste your time. Don't ever waste nobody's time, and don't waste your own time. Right? It's too valuable. We can't get that back. How many times people like, man, I wish I could have did this with this, or I wish I didn't waste my time doing this. So time is very important, like, being early and whatnot, not and being and communicating with people if you're gonna be late or not. That's important because that's time, right? Perspective, right? So something that's gonna be big in this topic that I talk about today is perspective. Having a positive perspective on things. And what I had to understand was, as I was getting older, I had to understand that, like, having a negative perspective on things was not gonna help any situation. It's only gonna make it worse. It's only gonna drag on what's really going on, right? Instead, let's have a positive perspective. Let's find something, a lesson in the situation that we can learn from, right? And then let's have a no flesh mentality. I'll get into that later on too, and handle the situation, right? Because being negative is not gonna help. Wisdom, number 3, wisdom. So time, perspective, and wisdom. Wisdom, like, something that I pray for every day. I ask God to continue to allow me to grow in my faith and continue to allow me to seek good wisdom, because there's so much bad wisdom out here. Social media is so toxic sometimes. And when you go out there and you see these motivational pages and things like that, and for me, sometimes those pages don't seem authentic. It most definitely seems like a gimmick. You know what I'm saying? So it may sound good, but it doesn't come from a good place all the time, right? I try to go and seek out wisdom from places that I know that's coming, that has my best interest, right? Or a place that I can be intimate with. And when I say intimate, I mean more like a vulnerable place where I know I'm going to get somebody going to hold me accountable in that space. It's when people hold you accountable, it's certain people that you allow to hold you accountable. It's like, a dude who doing all the bad things, and then you do one bad thing, and now he want to tell you, bro, you got to tighten up. No, bro, like, look at what you be doing, right? Opposed to somebody who always on their shit, right? And then they hold you accountable. It's like, all right, bro, you right. Let me tighten up, right? So that's where I try to seek my wisdom from, right? And then enthusiasm. I get that from the frat, on the bros, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, right? Rule. But I get, my pops always tell me, don't lose your enthusiasm for the frat. You know what I'm saying? Don't lose your enthusiasm for the frat. And nothing ever great was accomplished without being enthusiastic about it, right? So if you're gonna do something and you find something that you're really into, right, and that you can call it passion, you might as well be enthusiastic and like it. You know what I'm saying? So those are the pillars of HomeFLD for me, right? That's the pillar. So let's get into this topic. Mindset transformation and being your primary investor. So something that I can say, like, going through college, you feel me, and being in that situation, lack of better words, like, you go through a lot of adversity. You know what I'm saying? Like, being on your own for the first time, for really having to figure things out, really being responsible for you. Like, you be 17, 18 at the crib in high school, like, yeah, your parents, you grown, but, and you may move a certain way now, you know what I'm saying, because you that age, but you still got your parents at the crib, right? If you stay with your people, or whoever your guardian is, you still got that person to fall back on, right? But when you in school, especially you leave home, right, however far away, it's on you. Like, you can't go upstairs and be like, Mom, like, how I wash clothes? Do I sort them? You got to figure that out for yourself. Like, if you're not doing that before you get to school, like, that's something you got to figure out on your own, right? You got to ask questions. You got to see how people other do stuff, or you got to trial and error. That's how they go. So you go through a lot of adversity, like my freshman year of college, like in the fall term, like, gee, I was ready to go to the crib, and I wasn't even that type of person. Like, I know a lot of people kind of, and that's nothing wrong with this, but, like, a lot of people go off to school for a semester and then go back to the crib and they just be at the crib. Like, okay, but for me, like, I knew, like, my folks made it a priority that I knew that I was gonna go to school, get an education, secondary education, go to college, right? They made that a priority of mine. Parents had that right, excuse me, because I'm under their roof, right? So, but I mean, I came from a successful high school football program, like, and I came to an institution where we weren't very successful in football, So that was hard for me. We was losing a lot. I couldn't deal with that. Like nah, I wasn't. I was not happy. And then school was tough. Like I went to Muskegon High School, and people had their feelings about the preparation of post-secondary education, and I made the most of my education at Muskegon High School. And when I got to school, K College was just a different pace, But I graduated, right? 3.3 GPA at that institution, man. What? I was doing it, okay? But I had to learn because my fall term, I was bumping my head, getting slapped. I got the worst grade I've ever gotten in school. My fall term, Gen Psych, it was a final exam. It wasn't a final exam. Thank God it wasn't. It was an exam, and I got 35% on it. It's like partially the reason because I was concussed from football, right? And I was too prideful to open my mouth and say, yeah, professor, I'm concussed. I probably shouldn't be taking this right now, right? But I didn't do that. Right? I was too prideful. I had to learn, through adversity, right? So made that decision to not open my mouth. Got a 35%, and now I got the boo-boo face, and it's all on me. Like, bro, like that's your fault. That's your fault. You feel me? And that's something that in college or in just growing from being in high school to being a young adult, right? That's some things you just gotta learn. So you gotta go through certain things and figure it out, trial and error, right? If someone was to ask me what is this chapter of my life called, what's the name of it? It's trial and error. I'm gonna try something. I fail. All right, fall forward. That's my mantra. Fall forward. Outlast the latest. That's the slogan of HomeFLD. Outlast the latest. We'll get into that at some point too. So I've always been a mentally strong person, just because of playing sports and whatnot, being in real competitive teams and competitive environments, right? I had to learn how to be mentally tough. Like coaches was hard on me, they hard on all of us, right? But they love us, you know what I'm saying? So it's not coming from a place of ill treatment. It's coming from love, and I received that, something I received. So I've always been a mentally strong person, but like really having to grow, and get to this point right now, that took a lot. Because let's fast forward. Being in quarantine, right, during the pandemic, and even beforehand, like, I was never somebody that complained about a lot, but I would complain. Like I'll voice my frustration or my complaint every now and then. It was more than my liking, right? So I complain and have a negative thought, kind of dwell on that negative thought for a minute, right? But in quarantine, it got a little tougher, because obviously we in a situation that nobody want to be in. Can't walk out the house. You're scared to walk out the house. You're gonna get COVID and die in an hour, right? That's really like how people was thinking, So like I was complaining a lot, and then I didn't really care for the situation. Like I love my family, like my mom, dad, and sister. I love them to death. But once you go off, one thing I could tell you, like once you go off and move away from like home, you feel me? It's almost like you don't never really want to go back and be stuck and living at home. You know what I'm saying? Like you always want to be able to have that ability to get up and go to your own spot, because that's what you've been doing if you go off to school or go do whatever. You just leave home. It's hard to come back and be like, yeah, I want to be in the house, or I want to be under my parents. Nah. I mean, some people may want to save some cheese, right? But me, I like my space. I want to be in my space in quarantine after a certain point, and my folks where I'm going. Like, okay, and I respect them enough to be and accept that, right, and not refute it too much. But then eventually I had to be like, yeah, I gotta go, right? So, but I was complaining about that. So I was complaining about other stuff, and then I was starting to become envious, right? Because at that time everybody was kind of getting up some pay, right? Unemployment, PPP loan, whatever. Everybody was getting up some cheese. So this is where social media became toxic at a point for me, because I would be on social media and I'd be seeing things right? And I be of, you know, materialistic things. I see those things. And as a young man, you know what I'm saying, I want materialistic things. I'm just gonna be real. It's not a priority, but that's something that I strive to want to be able to obtain. Being real. And then I had a realization after, you know, kind of being like, I almost got outside my character. I'm just gonna say that. I got stuck. I almost got outside my character. You know, and I had a moment of reflection. And I'm like, if I want those things, I gotta change my circumstances. And the only way you're gonna change your circumstances is to put in leg work, right? And put in the work. So what I did was I started, you know, looking up successful people. You know, Tyler Perry, you know, Oprah, LeBron James, you know, black millionaires, you know, Jeff Bezos, you know, some white millionaires or whatever, Steve Harvey. And I it was like just looking up their stories. Like trying to figure out like what y'all go through to get to where y'all at. Because the only thing that we see is the fruit of their labor. We don't see the 20 years and the 30 years that they put in to be right there. Right? And they still grinding. That's the thing. They still grinding. They not content. They looking for the next dollar. How can I get another million, another 100 million? Because these are billionaires. Not Steve Harvey, but like these are billionaires. So like, I was like, okay, something that you can't dodge is the work. You can't dodge the work. That's something I had to know. And I always knew that. You know, it's something I always knew, but it's just like a second slap in the face. It's like a second slap in the face of understanding like you gotta put in the work, Pit. Like that's just what you gotta do. You know, like so everything that I started to think about things that I wanted, you know, like things that I wanted to achieve, places I wanted to be, all that kind of stuff. And I came to another realization that like we must think what we want and think and write down what we want before we achieve it. You know, that's a no-brainer. But I had to take things down to stuff that simple to really be where I am right now. Like I really had to. Like I really had to sit down, break myself down, and then let's go. All right, bro, from the feet up, let's go. From the ground up, let's go. Let's figure it out. That's what I did. So, I had thoughts of who I wanted to be and what I wanted my legacy, what I wanted for my legacy. That's what I wanted my legacy to be. And this is part of that. This is the beginning. Y'all are witnessing the beginning of this. Mark my words, and that's with confidence. You feel me? So, I became okay, not okay. Yeah, I became okay with the idea of putting in the work, but also understanding that like there is an opportunity, like there is a chance that like this won't work out. No guaranteed reward. I was okay with the idea of putting in the work but having no guaranteed reward. That's where I ended up. And I'm like, I'm okay with that. Because I became a process-driven person, a journey-driven person. Like, and people be like, one thing I've also learned is like cliches are cliches for a reason because they're true. You know, like hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard, you know? And like what I just said. So like cliches are cliches because they're true, right? And I understood that like I had to put in that work and I really had to become a process and journey driven person. Like happy about your small victories leading up to that victory that championship, right? You got to be happy that you're on a 10-game win streak because that's going to help you, and that is helping you get to that championship. But you also have to be accepting to learn from your losses. They're not, another cliche, these aren't losses, they're lessons. That's real. I don't view them as a loss because I'm learning from something. And anytime you learn it, you winning. Let's be real. So I found perspective. I become a positive thinker. Everything was positive. I took away all negative things. I would be disciplining myself if I thought in a negative way. Right? All right, bro. Come on, you tripping. I'll knock out 10 push-ups real quick. Because it's quarantine. Like, I'm not trying to get fat neither. Right? We can talk about that too. But I wasn't trying to get fat or nothing, so I was going to go work out and stuff. And that was another way of developing my mindset by having to be making myself get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning and go work out. Having that discipline, establishing discipline. Because if you are not disciplined and committed to something, you will fail. And not only will you fail, you won't have the confidence to get back up and continue to go. For real. You got to be disciplined and committed to whatever you want. And I'm learning that every day because there be days where I be like, I don't want to do this. I'm tired. Who cares? I think about everybody that's doing what I want to do, and that's also wanting to do what I want to do. That's in the same position as me, right? But I really think about every day, how can I separate myself? What's something I could do to separate myself? Anything. That's what I be thinking about, right? And that didn't come overnight. That really took work. It really took that discipline. It really took me being committed to having a life that I want. Everybody you can post, you feel me, on the ground, whatever. I deserve the life, the bag, the car, the job, da-da. You can deserve it, right? But you gotta earn that. If it's given to you, it's not gonna be long. I'm here for longevity. I'm outlast the latest. Let's talk about it. So my slogan for HomeFLD is outlast the latest. Why? Because trends come in and out all the time, right? This is hot now. That's going to be hot then. This going to come back and be hot at another point in time. But at some point in time, both of those things were dead, right? So outlast the latest. I'm here for the long haul, longevity. I want the long game. What they say, I take the honest route. If it take a little longer, I don't mind it taking a little longer. I'm taking the honest route or whatever, right? I'm here for the long haul, that longevity. So we gonna outlast whatever coming in. You can come in, you can have your seat at the table, but you gonna get full or you gonna get up. You can come sit and eat with me, but you gonna get full and you gonna get up. And I'm gonna keep nibbling. I'm gonna keep food on my plate. We gonna outlast the latest, right? So let's transition a little bit. So something I'm gonna have cool on this podcast is a segment I call Keep It Player, right? I'm gonna explain to you what that is. So via Urban Dictionary definition, Keep It Player the definition is to not let anything bother or deter you from your main goal and objective. Remain true to yourself and your values. Lead, teach, guide, and never follow behind another. That's keeping it player, right? It's often married to the negative association of being a player. Like having multiple women, having hoes, whatever you want to call it, right? Or, women having multiple niggas that they messing with or whatever. So keeping it player and on each episode, I'm gonna try to relate it to the episode. Like, so it's not gonna always be about, you know, a little tip and trick on how you can, you know what I'm saying, wow the girl that you're trying to get with, or, you know, putting ladies on game when it comes to men. You know, it's not always be that, because for this that wouldn't even flow, right? So for today, free game tip on the Keep It Player segment is self-reflection and self-accountability. All right, Pitt, how you keep that player? Well, in order to understand where you want to go, you got to understand yourself little by little every day. Because even yourself switch up. You know what I'm saying? You got to continue to reevaluate things. You know? So self-reflection is huge. I have self-reflection Sundays. Like, I really sit in the crib and, like, I'll be watching football, but I won't really be locked into the game. I'll really be self-reflecting on things and just thinking about my week. And like, okay, how did I handle this situation? Okay, why did I make this decision here? Okay, how can I do this better? Okay, all right, so next week, no more eating after 12, Pitt. Like, stop. Like, you know, things like that. I really have self-reflection. And I really go to the cousin, okay, boom. Self-reflection and then self-accountability is the cousin of self-reflection. So when you self-reflect, now you got to hold yourself accountable. Now that discipline come in. And then the only way you could be disciplined is if you committed. Okay, I'm bringing things full circle. You hear me? So self-reflection, self-accountability is the cousin of reflection. So after you self-reflect, now you got to hold yourself accountable, right? So, Pitt, you eat after 12, you got to discipline yourself. Whatever that is. But you have to do something. Okay, if that means you got to get up 30 minutes earlier to run your mile and a half, that's what you got to do, bro. And you can't be mad at yourself when you hit that alarm a half hour earlier. You can't hit snooze. Get up. That's really what I be on. I really having to check myself, because I'm gonna always be my own worst critic, right? And then I'm gonna always be my biggest cheerleader. But I'm harder on myself because I want the best for myself. And the scary thing is, I haven't even put my best foot forward in anything. I mean, like, don't take that the wrong way. Like, I put in effort in everything that I do, but to, like, really be like, I don't know, like when Brian used to go 0 dark 30 and get off social media during the playoffs, that type locked in. Especially during the championship rounds, that type locked in on something, right? So that's a scary part. But self-reflection and self-accountability is so important, because if you're not going to hold yourself accountable, or if you're not going to be real with yourself, and you expect others to, that means you got a whole lot of, like, you're going to end up having a whole lot of yes men around you. Because you're going to feel some type of way when they try to hold you accountable and make you think about things from your own perspective. And there ain't no room for no yes man in my circle. And there really shouldn't be no room for none of yours, if you're moving how you're supposed to be moving. And that's on you, but at the same time, like, let's be real. So that's my advice on keeping it player when it comes to your mental mindset. Okay? And really how you a way that you should move through life. Okay? So that's gonna be the Keep It Player segment, man. Y'all can send me topics, right? On the Keep It Player, right? Y'all can send them to home.fld.xx @gmail.com. Send that to that email. And, you know, send me, you know, ideas and stuff and things like that. And I implement them into the show. But continue with my topic, right? So how did I test my mindset? You know, like, because like you studying, right? Now you gotta take the test. Okay? So like I'm making strides and I'm disciplining myself. Okay, but let's measure up. Let's see how tough you really are. Okay? I mean, practicing now, here come game time. So work it out. Like if you follow me on Instagram, you know, at pit.xx, pitt.xx. Jesus. If you follow me on the gram, like, you watch my story every now and then. Like I'm posting constantly, like throughout the week. Yeah, every time I go to the gym, I'm in there. Like I'm posting, like, and I'm saying something that's gonna like hopefully inspire and motivate somebody. I think God's giving me the gift to inspire and motivate, right? So I want to share that with others. I'd be selfish if I hold it to myself. So I do that, right? At least 4 or 5 times a week. 4 or 5 times a week I do that. So I get up and work out. Get up. Used to get up at like 6:30. You know what I'm saying? Because of what my schedule was like. Now I can get up a little bit earlier, but even sometimes I still make myself get up at 6:30, 5 o'clock, or whatever, and go get it done, because just so I can I can keep myself on my toes, right? I started to exclusively think positive, right? So I was correcting myself when I have negative thoughts, right? So my positive perspective, I'm finding a lesson in everything. So quick story, back in early 2020, before the quarantine and whatnot, I was coming from a party, up at Ferris State University, at like 3 o'clock in the morning in February, and a snowstorm started. I slid off the road twice, right? The first time I slid off the road, I kept my foot on the gas, I bounced in the ditch, kept my foot on the gas, and just rolled right back onto the road and kept going like nothing happened. Cool. Not cool, but boom, that's the first time. Second time, I'm going past a semi-truck, not really trying to pass it, I'm really just kind of keeping, I'm really trying to like back up for real. So I tapped the brake and like pump it, and then I slid forward and slid in front of it, almost got hit by the semi-truck, ran into the ditch, didn't get out of that one. So that thing, had to spend money, on getting my car fixed, not having my car for a minute, and things of that nature. It was frustrating. I was upset. It was on myself, right? And the positive lesson was like, okay, you had to find out the hard way, but don't get your butt on the highway at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning in a snowstorm, right? So now you had to have that's the lesson, and lessons in learning is positive, and that was the positive perspective. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I became a journey and process driven person, right? I was okay with, like, I would be in situations where I'd be down, right? And I'm like, okay, bro, I really say to myself, like, Pitt, you're gonna look back, one day you're gonna be where you want to be, right? Or even a place where you couldn't even imagine. And you're going to look back and think on this moment right here, and you're going to be so thankful for this, because this is what made you. This would help drove you to be where you are right now. That's real. Processing, journey-driven person. Now, it's pros and cons to having and transforming your mindset, right? It's not easy. You got to put it into work, i.e., commitment and discipline. Commitment. But so let me talk about the pros. So the pros, like, you become more productive. Like I get up earlier, you know what I'm saying? Because the real successful people in the world get up early in the morning. Like they be up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm not getting up that early, not yet. But like 6 o'clock is good for me. 5:30 is good for me. I get up, right? Do my routine, read my word, do my workout. You know what I'm saying? When I'm in school, so I knock out homework then, right? Go to the office if I have to go to the office. Go to one of my 2 jobs, like or work on stuff like this. I'm always trying to be more productive, right? I try to have productive days. I'm not in the routine of scheduling yet. I think I'm gonna get there at some point in time, because I think that helps being organized. Excuse me, but I'm becoming more productive, right? And then you start to view situations differently with that positive perspective. Excuse me, with that positive perspective. And then that more so puts you in good spirits more times than not. And then you become a high frequency energy person. So those are the pros. Just to name a few. There's multiple, but like those are just some that I really resonate with. And then the cons could be like you become like a workaholic, which can be a pro, but it can be a con for sure, because then you can kind of forget people and like dismiss people, and like not even think about like I really ain't got no time for you. Like, stop asking me. I'm locked in. Or people that's really in your life and that you really care about, you can kind of forget to make time for them, and they are. That's what I'm looking for. You care enough for them to be in your life for them to deserve that. And like, you gotta live your creed as well, bro. You gotta live what you walk. You gotta talk the talk, right? You gotta walk the walk. So coaching wise, like if my guys are out complaining, because it's cold, and I tell them like you gotta have a positive perspective, be positive. I can't go out and be like, "Woo, it's cold. I ain't trying to be here." Can't do that. Like you gotta really. If I'm on social media talking about, keep knocking, somebody gonna open the door eventually. I can't quit. I gotta keep knocking. You feel me? And then you kind of you can develop a nonchalant mentality or like that no flinch mentality. And like people, this may be for another topic, like nonchalant people, but I could be nonchalant. I was nonchalant before the mindset transformation a little bit, but I can most definitely be nonchalant, right? And like be unbothered, okay? Be unbothered, have that no flinch mentality, right? So here's an example. I sent in my degree. I wanted my degree audit, so I can graduate in April, right? I always knew or thought that my program needed 36 credits to graduate. I followed the course suggesting model for that program to the T, right? So it tells me that I'm gonna be able to graduate in April with 36 credits that it said on the site. So I get my degree audit back and it said, nah, you need 39. I'm like, okay, that can't be right. Now I easily could have really like let that fluster fluster me and be like, man, now I gotta take a summer class, and really be sick. I'm not doing another semester. I really could have had that mindset, or I could have taken which I did. The mindset that I have now is, okay, it's cool. I'm gonna talk to and reach out to the right people and really figure this out. So I reached out to an advisor. He said, actually, you only need 33. Boom, look at that, no flinch. And it worked out in my favor better. So now I ain't gotta take 3 classes in the spring. In the spring, I only gotta take 2. Would have been stressed out and upset for no reason. So let's talk about the next part of this topic. Becoming your own primary investor. And this is, I don't even really have to, this is going to be sweet, short and sweet, I feel like, because it's self-explanatory. At some point in my life, I used to let people kind of dictate my life some. Like my father being a judge in Muskegon and me being glued to the hip, growing up, I always just get the name Lil Judge or, Young Pig. You gonna be a judge like your daddy. You going to law school like your daddy. Da 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 da. And at one point in time, I was like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to law school, become a sports agent because I love sports. And that's what I'm gonna do. So when I went off to college, I took the law track. But thank God for my pops, man. I love you, Dad. Thank God for my pops, man, because he seen something in me. After one of my scrimmages, we riding on the way to go get some food. He kind of turned on the music and he kind of looked at me. He's like, you don't want to go to law school, do you? I said, nah, I don't. He said, I can tell because you don't have the drive that I had at that age to do that. Like he had gotten me LSAT, study books, all types of stuff. I'm using them as coasters. Let's be real. I'm not touching them. Just looking at them. Part of my collection. They look cool. When the shorties come over. Oh, you got an LSAT book? Okay. He going somewhere. High value. You feel me? But he was like, okay, what you want to do? And I told him what I want to do at that time. Like, all right, let's work it out. Let's do it. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. And I appreciate him for that. And at that moment, I kind of started taking my own life into my own hands. I felt good. That was like a monkey off my back. I started taking my own life into my own hands. I think that's the first, I could identify that being the first moment where I started to become my own primary investor. And I say primary because you can have other people invest in you. That's help. And it's okay to seek help. It's okay to let people help you. I know sometimes we can be prideful. Me, freshman year, fall term, not opening my mouth, being prideful to my professor and getting 35% on the exam. You know what I'm saying? We can be prideful and not accept help because we often don't want to let people help us because we don't want them to throw it back in our face. But when you're a genuine person, you attract what you are. You go, that cliche, show me, I tell you where you're going when you show me who your friends are. Yeah, that's that. So, getting help, like, this took help. I had to go seek the right people, the resources. I did my research. I didn't just wake up and be like, I want an LLC. Boom, went and apply for that mug, got this podcast equipment, and got that camera. Boom. Now we recording. Here we are. No. Hell no. I wish. But this brings me to this point, and it's kind of funny. Okay, bring it full circle, pig. I heard this saying, it's not gonna happen overnight, but overnight it's gonna happen. Excuse me. I said again, it's not gonna happen overnight, but overnight it's gonna happen. That sounds so stupid to me at one point. But now that's something that I value. Okay? Because this didn't happen overnight. I had to really game plan. I had to really think about what I wanted this to be. I had to have a vision. Right? But overnight, I'm here. The night I spent game planning for this, I'm here. Right? So overnight, it didn't happen. It took time. It took patience. But now I'm here and I'm starting. Right? And this is the night that I'm going to look back on when I'm where I want to be. So it ain't happen overnight, but overnight it's going to happen. Okay? So I sought help. And I made a decision when I'd established this to really go ahead and put my foot on the gas. Because even as I was growing, that conversation happened my sophomore year. I'm finna graduate grad school. Okay? So, even in growing and being my own primary investor, I got to this point where it was like, okay, Pid, you can no longer wait on others to get you where you want to go. Staying patient but still chasing. It's something else I say to myself. I'm staying patient because people in our generation and like even sometimes black folks in general, we have a hard time being patient because we got this technology right here. We got this phone right here. You feel me? We can get on Google. It ain't nothing to get on Google and look up some directions or figure out what time something closed. At one point in time, you had to get into the phone book, make the phone call. You had to hold the map up in the car like, okay, we supposed to be getting here and going there. You got to take this exit. So everything is immediate now. So that, people really be wanting things to happen overnight. And at sometimes it does happen for people overnight. But it doesn't last long. And what I say earlier, I'm in this for the long haul and the longevity, baby. Okay? Let's get into it, okay? So, that was real. That was real for me. Coming to that realization, that was real for me. So, becoming my own primary investor, I realized that real moment that I could no longer wait for people to get me to where I want to go. I had to initiate. I had to lead dog, okay? I run this. My life. I run this. Okay? I can't wait because it be times where like, me and my pops had to handle something, right? And it was something that I could handle on my own if I just really go ahead and be like, all right, bro, research what you got to research, contact who you got to contact, get the ball rolling, let's go. But no, I'm steady waiting because it's something I really don't know nothing about, right? And I really don't want to put in the effort to make it happen. I'm going to wait on my pops, and he got a billion things to do. Every time I bring it up, oh yeah, man, we're going to get to it. I got you. No, I bet, bro. Do it yourself. So this is me doing it myself. Being my own primary investor. By buying into myself and betting on myself, another cliche, okay? They true. By buying into myself and investing in myself, I know what I'm going to put out and I know what's going to come back to me. Secondary investors. People that want to buy into me. And come on. I'm with it. Let's do it. Let's get into it. Okay? So I think that's a good place to end. Right there. I think that's a good place to end. So to conclude this episode, and the title of this episode is going to be "And So We Begin," right? And so we begin, episode 1. If you're considering a change in your mindset, you got to be committed. You got to be committed. You got to have that discipline, right? You got to have that self accountability. You got to self reflect. Okay, and it's doable. Every person that has success at some point in time had to shift their mindset and started not accepting mediocre things. You got to be real with yourself as well, because you can't. You can expect it. You can say, I expect my best every day, but you got to understand that you're not going to get your best every day. That's just going to happen. That's real life. Okay, so you got to be committed. Nothing's going to change unless you change it, and you got to put in that work, and you can't dodge that work. At some point in time, you're going to have to really grind. And you may be grinding for a long time, and that's okay. You're going to be there. You might as well enjoy it. Adversity, you're going to go through it. You might as well embrace it. And then be your own primary investor. Self-explanatory. Okay? So, that's episode 1 of HomeFLD The Podcast, baby. I'm your host, Pitt. Okay? Y'all can follow me on Instagram at pitt.xx. That's Pitt. .xx. Y'all can follow me on Twitter at pittxx_. That's Pitt xxxx underscore. Y'all like, subscribe, and comment on HomeFLD Films. Y'all share this, man. Y'all tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Bring them back to me. If y'all, I plan on doing like a question segment too as well in this. So bring y'all questions about anything. I'm giving out advice. I'm giving tips and tricks. I'm giving you ways to keep it playing always, forever. All right, 100 years. You dig? So y'all can email me at home.fld.xx @gmail.com. That's HomeFLD20. That's what XX is, y'all. Alright. It's 20 in Roman numerals. There you can email me with y'all questions, whatever, and then you'll keep it playing, ideas, and topics as well. Alright? So that's episode 1. This is gonna be a great journey, baby, and I'm so excited. And I appreciate any and everybody that tap in with me. In a minute.